Alright, this is the last minute decision to do an 8-4 draft. Yeah, I've returned to Ravnica before these, gate crash pre-release events stop firing. I'm not really going to overpay to draft gate crash since I've got, marginal interest in drafting it at the moment. But I'll definitely be doing some release queues later once it comes out and is actually affordable. But at the moment I just sort of jump into this RTR 8-4 because I figure it'll either be, good fun or, a good last hurrah or whatnot. Uh, we'll see how that goes. So there's 7 people in the queue at the moment. I'm sure it won't take very long for the next one. Um, so the Pro Tour is in like a week's time. So I guess Gate Crash videos are going to come out, and like people are going to know more about the format after it's been touted about by the pros or whatnot. But my early thoughts are that Madcap Skills is a stupid card, and you guys should all go drafting it and sticking it on creatures, especially on armored transport, because that seems really, really good. Um, Apart from that, I like the idea of extorting. I think Kingpin's Pet has the best name. It's one of the best names around. But all of that new nonsense later. We're gonna be doing RTR here, good old RTR. Chance to just do it before no one ever does it again. It was a reasonable format, to be perfectly honest. You know, 3 sets kind of get stale after a while, like everyone knows. I'm sure Gate Crash is going to become very stale very quickly. But this format's had a bit of variety in it. There's a few decks I like drafting. I know I uploaded a video with terrible audio recently, which was it was a great draft. Like I drafted Rakdos, and I got to take my most hated card in the set, Volatile Rig, and play it to much success. I decided to send it through the Rogue's Passage on turn 5, so I wouldn't have to trade it. My opponent Electricaried it, and I won the flip, and it survived, and I just crushed him, absolutely crushed him. That 4 damage was completely, you know, it was the most important 4 damage going. So, uh, yeah, so if someone dropped out of this queue and then jumped back in, someone else jumped back into it. Sure, it can't be too long until the 8th person jumps into it, but I'm going to stop waffling because it's just about to start. Luckily, I nearly had to pause that. Okay, so this pack's here. 2 cards I really like, and they're jumping out at me. They're Void Wielder, which the Wolfie Horrig, the young Horrigster, I don't know, he'll probably listen to this, so I'm not going to run out too many nicknames. He says never pass this card, but this is Rick's Mighty Guildmage. I mean, this is a bomb uncommon. I think we all know this by now. Other good cards in this pack are the Mighty Pursuit of Flight, a card which is, constantly shooting up people's pick orders. This card, which is, I thought this card was like the worst possible card, and then this has risen the most in my appreciation relative to where I thought it began. This card I've gained the most respect for. This is a card I've gained 0 respect for. I hate this card. People like it, but I think it's dumb. Dramatic Rescue, obviously sweet. This is a pet card of mine. I really think the steed is borderline amazing. If he had 4 toughness, he would be spectacular, and if he only cost 2 mana to activate, I think he'd be great. But as it is, he's made my deck a couple of times and been pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna take Rick's Mighty Guildmage and be done with it. All right, so this pack's here, and there's a couple of good Rakdos options here. This is a situation that I guess it's vaguely familiar, but like the question is whether or not your Rakdos deck wants to be just 2-dropping with this Gorehouse Chainwalker, or if it wants to be lobbing with Cruise. The Lob Dog Millionaires is a personal favorite of mine. I think he's incredibly solid. I think I'm going to go with the Gorehouse Chainwalker here. I think having the correct population of 2 drops is really important in your Rakdos decks, and there's a good chance that Shred Free comes back around, in which case, then I'm 3 2-drops in, and that's really good times. So yeah, I'm going to take that. Other cards here, like, Skyline Predator, and I like this card a lot, actually. When it has Vigilance, it's really good. And this card, Aerial Predation, is a solid card, but I'm obviously not going to take it or main deck it all the time. So I'm going to take Gorehouse Chainwalker and hope that I will Shred Freak. Though this pack's not very deep. Okay, so the rule of the 2 drops continues to apply. I'm probably just going to take the Grim Roustabout over, Ground Rorix or whatever it is. Kind of fall in and out of love with this guy. periodically. Sometimes I think he's amazing, sometimes I think he's trash, and I always pass him. It really depends. Sometimes your deck desperately needs an explosive impact, but you haven't got one, and so you need the Crasher, and sometimes your deck just can't bear to have another 6-drop. I'm going to avoid having 6-drops for a while. I'm going to take this Grim Roustabout. Alright. An interesting pick. Again, Ground Rorik's going to fall by the wayside. Picks here is between Pursuit of Flight, which is a complete beating if it's in the right situation, or the Rakdos Cackler. You know, people are going to scorn me for passing this card, but I always just find myself in situations where I have to pass it. 1-drop 2/2s are too good, and at the moment I'm just going to have a string of, 2-power guys. And that's alright with me. Alright, out of this pack, 2 options, or 3 options really. I mean, I could be Zanikev Locust, which is a card that I don't ever really enjoy playing too much. Other options are Dynacharge and Cobble Brute. Hang on 1 second. Alright, we're back. I think I'm going to take Dynacharge here. I've grown in respect for this card, and it's making my deck. So my options here are mildly limited, in the sense that there's nothing that immediately jumps out at me. And there's 2 cards. There's Daggerdrome Imp, and then there's 6 Civic Saber. And this card is interesting. Like, if you slap it on a Rakdos Cackler, that's a 4/2. That's pretty good. If you put it on a Rick Smarty Guildmage, that's a 4/2. Put it on a Shred Freak, it's a 4/1. I mean, these are all kind of like damage pushing through kind of bodies, whereas like this is always just a 1/1 in your Rakdos decks, and I'm not too excited about it. I think I'm just going to roll with the Civic Saber for the time being, though I could be wrong. There's probably more opportunities to get this card, and this kind of sends a weird black signal, because it's probably the 3rd best card in this pack. Yeah, I'm going to take the Imp and just see what happens. This makes me feel good. This card is a beating, although I'd like to take Big Daddy, the Big Daddy Longlegs. I'm going to take Deviant Glee because, why would I ever spend more than 1 or 2 mana to cast my spells? My favorite. Sewer Shambler. Perfectly costed Scavenge card, as I may have mentioned before. It might have been inaudible to all of you who listened, but the Sewer Shambler is the perfect pairing of a Scavenge card. It's the perfect Scavenge card in my mind. Its body is reasonable but unexciting, its ability is reasonable but unexciting, and its Scavenge cost is affordable. It's just, it's the perfect mix. Unlike something like, say, Drudge Beetle or whatnot, where you pay 2 mana for a 2/2, which is fine. Like, you paying a Grizzly Bear, like I'm prioritizing Grizzly Bears here, but you pay 6 mana for that Scavenge cost, and like there's not many times you want to pay 6 mana to give Giant Strength, whereas 3 mana to give Giant Strength, actually pretty good. I mean, people make Volcanic Strength in Constructed at the moment. That's crazy. Here the options are between Gatecreeper Vine, which I don't think I'm going to do, and Viashino Racketeer, which I'm just going to put into my pile, because sometimes he makes the cut, and sometimes he doesn't. But when he makes the cut, he filters something every now and then. So the best card in this pack is probably Aerial Predation. Don't have much respect for this card. It costs too much mana for what it does, but, sometimes you need to bellow. I'm going to take this rare, because I'm not a rich man. Perilous Shadow is a guy who isn't too disrespectful, if I'm perfectly honest. Museum Skin here. And I'm going to take Drainpipe Bowman. Okay, so in my last video, I had the option of taking this Blood Crypt, but I didn't. I took Rakdos Cackler over it. Turns out this thing's like 3 tickets or something, and so I'm just going to snap it up. I'm sorry to do this in videos which, intensively should be for learning purposes, but you guys should know everything about RTR by now. If I didn't take this card, I'd probably be taking like Ground Rorix or Cobble Brute. Cobble Brute's pretty good with this Deviant Glee I picked up, and it's quite good with Rick Smarty Guildmage too. But I'm not running out the door for it, and 3 tickets are 3 tickets, so cool. Forgive me. Oh, you can stay unhidden. Alright, big rigs, eh? Big rigs. This pack's a tough one. Pick's a tough one. There's actually 3 really good options. Premier Common, Enigmatic Rare card. Do I really want to take Volatile Rig again? tell my rig anecdote and I get served up with it again. I feel like I'm run my course of luck with that card, to be perfectly honest, and I really wouldn't mind just taking the stab wound because this card is just, too solid. I know 4/4s are good and all, and you'll all just tell me I'm crazy for not taking this, but I think I'm just going to take the stab wound and just, pass up the opportunity to have the big rig here. Might be a mistake, but yeah, let's go with it. And well, I wouldn't say I'm rewarded, but I'm rewarded with this stab wound. Other options are like Reckless Key Rune. This card's insane, and Knightly Valor is insane, but obviously not going to make my deck, whereas the second stab wound is more than welcome. Okay. Could have been the exact same draft from last time. I could have sent my big rig through the Rogue's Passage. But here, I think the options are between Sewer Shamble and Spawn of Rixmati, and all of my decks want one Spawn of Rixmati. Even my non-Rakdos decks want it. Whereas I don't really want two Sewer Shamblers, so I'm pretty happy taking Spawn here. Would like to take Rogue's Passage because I really like it, but Spawn it is. Alright, getting hooked up here. Annihilating Fire is the sweetness. I wish I was, could take like Gutter Snipe or Dread Reveler or Traitorous Instinct, but Annihilating Fire is Annihilating Fire, and I'm just going to stick it in my deck. Beautiful. So when I thought I wasn't getting enough creatures in this pack, I'm going to pick up Gorehouse Chainwalker, who's going to fill out my 2-drop sword nicely. Here I'm going to slam this Deviant Glee, because the second Deviant Glee is just as good as the first one, to be perfectly honest. Third one less good, but the second one's always sweet. This card's completely unplayable. This card is completely unplayable unless you're Wilfie's opponent in the Grand Prix trials in Sydney. Dispel is like a great main deck card, in my opinion, but I'm not going to take it here because I have no excuse for playing it. This card's complete garbage. I don't know if I said it before, and this card's like not much better. But I think I'm just gonna take it and hope something sweet works out, where I don't have to play it and hide it. Okay, now it's time for me to take Ground Rorix. The idea of a second Perilous Shadow excites me less, and like the curve of like Rorix following Spawn of Rixmati is pretty sweet in my mind. Here. The options are taking this Golgari Gilgate for some sweet splash, or taking this Street Sweeper for some terrible 4/6s. I'm going to take the Golgari Gilgate. Here I'm going to take the Catacomb Slug, because, why wouldn't I? It's a Catacomb Slug. I'm going to take Mind Rot here, because, Skull Rend isn't enough. Sticks are going okay. Alright, guess Slaughter Games can make my pile. Might be I sell it for like 50 cents or something. Not even, like 2 cents. But that's alright. It's 1/50th of a tick. So this deck is pretty solid after that pack. I wound up picking up some good removal spells. Yep. So, deck's shaping up nicely. It's got a reasonable curve and some solid things in it, and this really is just a mirror of the last draft, because I had this card, and I never drew it, but, who can argue with the Hellsteed? Again, like, Chaos Imps is easily blocked, this, and I traded with, this is not. This card is a beating, an absolute beating. Sucks to be passing August Spree, and like Traitorous Instinct, but not when you're taking the actual Ground Rorix, as opposed to this fake Ground Rorix, which is just, the difference in this card and this card is just, incredibly large, isn't it? Like, you see what like 2 bumps in rarity does. This is just the terrible version of the Nightmare Horse. Don't have a problem with Nightmare Horsing people, nor do I have a problem with August Spring people. Sweet, this is a good hookup. Added to this pile of removal spells in our deck. I think we're going to be able to do alright in this event. The packs have seemed like relatively strong, but only in Rakdos. I wonder if there's people with dilute decks out there. Whereas we've got a reasonable selection of things. Like, I'm feeling better at this Dagger Dream Imp now that we have a double Deviant Glee. I also like winning Deviant Glee on Perilous Shadow, because you can do some serious harm with that card. Serious harm. When it's got 6 power and it tramples, it's pretty insane. Anyway. Clearly this string of 4 sweet removal spells is where we want to be at, and this like nice bomb rare. Feel a little bit bad I'm not playing big riggers, but you know, what can I do? I guess what I can do is take this third stab wound. This is really a mirror image of that last draft I did. This is incredible. Sucks to have had to pass some real things. Now here's an interesting one. Do I want to take some 2-drops, some 2-drop betas, or do I want to take this underworld connection, which can really like put you over the top, or can really just do nothing? I'm not an enormous fan of it, and I'd rather just have some, honestly rather have some 2-drops to put my Deviant Glees on, and I like putting Deviant Glee and Grim Roustabout. So I'm going to take that. It's pretty silly to be, I guess, to be passing this card, but whatever, I don't care. Finally I get the opportunity to snap up this Dread Reveler. Solid man for the 3-drop slot, and we don't really have any good creatures at 3 at the moment. Kind of just all 2-drops and then some, you know, some Rorixes. Yeah, this is now there's the obvious question of, do I want the 3rd Deviant Glee, or do I want, you know, the 7th 2-drop? And I think I want the 7th 2-drop. 3 Deviant Glee is a fair amount, whereas like I can never have too many 2/2s for 2 on turn 2. Some people might disagree with me there, but I think I really want to maximize the guys I'm just dumping into play. Here I'm weighing up between Launch Party and Dynacharge. I already have one Dynacharge, and I'm not a huge fan of playing multiples, whereas I guess like Launch Party's a solid dude. Launch Party's a solid removal spell and can kill big things that these guys won't kill. I'm going to take Launch Party here. It might be wrong, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. Launch Party's a card I'm not too unhappy to have in my deck. Another card I'm not too unhappy to have in my deck is Electrickery, a card which is just good enough. Perfect example of a card that's just good enough to be alright. Like, it's going to make the cut here. You know? It's going to make the cut. An argument in favour of that 3rd Deviant Glee was the fact that we have this Dagger Drome Imp, but, you know, cross that bridge when we come to it. This is a Traitorous Instinct deck, I'm pretty sure. More than it's a Goblin Rally deck or a Civic Saber deck. I only wound up with 1, 2, 3, 4 multicolor guys, and 2 of them hit hard enough already, so I'm going to take this Traitorous Instinct. Would be nice to get Goblin Rally, but I don't really mind. This card's much better when you cast it for 4 mana off Goblin Electromancer. Alright, let's see what the end of this pack has to say for us. Cards I don't want to play. A second Traitorous Instinct. I'll definitely play that card. I'm actually pretty content with a lot of the... Oh, Lapis Spawner Bricks Mine. Okay, so Ground Rorix, the number 1, is going. I think also Perilous Shadow is going, and so is Viashino. The Shred Freak as well. Wow, maybe I'm cutting this Dagger Drome Imp. And maybe I'm not playing this Electrickery, although it may just be that I want to be cutting this Launch Party instead. Yeah, this is going to be... You know, the build is pretty obvious, to be fair, but the last couple of cards is going to be a little bit of an interesting time. We'll get back to that in a second. So this is the 23 I've got laid out, and it's only 13 creatures. Is it? The curve's obviously super low, and that's pretty sweet. But other options for creatures are, or I'm gonna play 16 land in this deck. Like, I don't like playing 17 all the time in these Rakdos decks, particularly ones with curves this low. So my options really are these 3 cards here. I can play the Dagger Drome Imp for another 2-drop. I can play the Viashino Racketeer, which would fill out my 3-drop slot, give me something to do there, and might help me dig for land. There's Launch Party, which is another spell, and Electrickery. I think it's between the 2 creatures. I think I really want to have another dude that I play. And whether or not I want this 1/1 flyer that I can glee up, or I want this Racketeer, is really the big question. There's also why I want this Tenement Crasher, or like Perilous Shadow. Like, Perilous Shadow is not the worst idea, because like it gives me something to do with my mana late in the game if I wind up stumbling. But I think we're going to be okay for that sort of stuff. I think I prefer Dagger Drome. I'm going to go with Dagger Drome Imp here. Because I have these 3 stab wounds, I might get to a situation where it's best for me to just be attacking in the air with my Imp and rolling with that, if you know what I mean. It could be completely wrong, and you know, I'd like to hear if you think differently, or if you think the same. I guess I'd rather hear if you think differently, because that's what I'm here for, I guess. I think this deck's aggressive and pretty solid though. I wouldn't be surprised if I made it to the finals, and I'd be quite happy. So I'm gonna go ahead and think about adding land. Let's just go sort piles by color. We're stronger black than we are red, so and I got this. So I'm gonna go with 15 land. I'm gonna go 8/7. Hey, who would have thought it's just the same thing? I think that's reasonable. I want black red for the Rax Mighty Guildmage, and it's just important to have double red here, ability to cast like giant Firewalker, and give trample, that sort of stuff. I'm gonna go with that. Some interesting sideboard cards. This is gonna be interesting. Might have to bring in Launch Party if need be. Yeah, it's kind of curious. I've got this Mind Rot / Skullrend to go with if I need to. If I just need more Boom Booms, I can bring in this Tenement Crasher. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I'll see you guys for round 1, hopefully. Alright, later.